The nighttime dessert that ended my evening cravings for good. If you find yourself standing in front of your fridge or pantry every single evening somewhere between 8 and 10 p.m., feeling an almost magnetic pull towards something sweet, something sugary, something you know you probably shouldn't be eating, I want you to stop blaming yourself right now. That craving is not a personality flaw. It is not a sign that you are weak or that you lack discipline. It is almost certainly a blood sugar problem that started hours before the sun went down. And once I understood that, everything changed for me. I have been able to maintain a body fat percentage of around 14% while eating a satisfying, creamy, genuinely delicious dessert nearly every single night. The evening cravings that used to feel completely out of my control have faded to almost nothing. The late night pantry raids that used to derail my progress week after week are now a distant memory. And the thing that made the biggest difference takes less than 3 minutes to prepare, uses 5 simple ingredients, and honestly tastes better than most of the processed junk I used to reach for in moments of weakness. In this lesson, I am going to walk you through the exact recipe, explain the biological role of every single ingredient, and reveal the one addition that transformed this from a basic healthy snack into something I genuinely look forward to every evening, while simultaneously supporting real, sustainable fat loss over time. But before I give you the recipe, I need to say something important. Because if I skip this part, the rest of this lesson will not really land the way it needs to. The lie you have been telling yourself. If you have spent years, maybe decades, believing that you have a discipline problem around food, that you are somehow doing fine all day and then inexplicably falling apart at night, I want you to seriously consider the possibility that the story you have been telling yourself is the wrong one entirely. You do not lack willpower. Your willpower is probably just fine. The real issue is that by the time evening rolls around, your blood sugar levels, your hunger hormones, and the food environment you are navigating every day have all quietly stacked the deck against you. And your biology is simply doing exactly what biology is supposed to do under those conditions. This is not a character flaw. This is your body responding perfectly logically to the signals you have been sending it throughout the day. I want to share this up front because I spent many years trapped in that exact shame cycle. I would eat a clean breakfast, I would have a reasonable lunch, I would get all the way to dinner time feeling genuinely proud of myself. And then, somewhere around 9 or 10 in the evening, I would find myself standing in the kitchen, eating something I did not even particularly want, could not even explain why I was eating it, but simply could not seem to stop. And the internal dialogue the next morning was brutal. Why could I not hold it together? I had been so good all day. Why did I always seem to ruin it right at the end? What was wrong with me? Here is what I eventually learned. That voice was lying. The voice in your head telling you the same things is lying to you too. What actually changed for me had nothing to do with summoning more willpower or developing stronger discipline. What changed was understanding that nighttime cravings are almost never born at night. They begin much earlier in the day. They are the accumulated result of unstable blood sugar, inadequate protein intake, and a cascade of small dietary decisions that quietly deplete your appetite regulation system long before you ever sit down to dinner. The dessert I am about to show you made an enormous difference in my life because it gave me a genuinely sustainable way to close out the day with something that felt indulgent and satisfying without triggering the next wave of cravings. That is the real transformation. Not more discipline, not more restriction, better inputs that work with your biology instead of constantly fighting against it. The recipe, 5 ingredients, 3 minutes. Here is what goes into the bowl. Ingredient 1. Probiotic-rich yogurt, 4 tablespoons. The foundation of this bowl is a high-quality probiotic-rich yogurt. Personally, I use a coconut-based yogurt that is seriously fermented with live cultures. You can actually feel it working the moment you consume it. But you do not need to use the exact same brand. A thick, organic Greek yogurt works perfectly well, as does a high-protein yogurt of your choosing, whatever works for your preferences and your digestive system. The one thing that is non-negotiable here is that the yogurt actually contains live probiotic cultures and is not loaded with added sugar. This is critically important because the majority of yogurts sitting on grocery store shelves are essentially dessert pretending to be health food. They are packed with sugar, artificial flavors, and very little of anything actually beneficial. Here is the simplest rule to follow. Read the label. If the sugar content is higher than the protein content, you are looking at a product that has been designed to keep you coming back for more rather than to actually nourish you. Put it back and keep looking. Ingredient 2, half a cup of blueberries. Next, add a generous handful of blueberries directly on top of the yogurt. Frozen or fresh both work excellently. I personally tend to prefer frozen blueberries because as they thaw, they develop this incredibly jammy, almost syrupy texture that swirls through the yogurt and makes the whole thing look and feel like a real dessert. There is also an interesting piece of research suggesting that the ice crystals that form during the freezing process actually help break down the cell walls of the blueberries, which may improve your body's ability to absorb the antioxidants, particularly the anthocyanins responsible for that deep blue-purple color. Whether or not you use frozen or fresh, the blueberries are doing real biological work in this bowl, which I will explain in a moment. Ingredient 3. 1 tablespoon of hemp seeds. Add a tablespoon of organic hemp seeds. These are one of the most consistently overlooked and underrated ingredients in the world of whole food nutrition. They are small, slightly nutty in flavor, and they add a wonderful subtle texture to the bowl. But beyond texture, they are genuinely nutritious, packed with omega-3 fatty acids in the form of ALA, magnesium, and fiber. A single tablespoon delivers around 3 grams of protein and a gram of fiber. Small contribution, but it adds up. I actually put hemp seeds in my dog's food as well, which tells you something about how much I trust them. Ingredient 4, a generous shake of high-quality cinnamon. Do not be shy with the cinnamon. Add a solid, generous shake across the top of everything. Cinnamon does something genuinely interesting with regard to blood sugar regulation, which I will cover shortly. Use an organic, high-quality Ceylon cinnamon if you can find it. Ingredient 5, 2 tablespoons of a clean, high-quality protein powder. And here we arrive at the ingredient that completely transformed this bowl for me, 2 tablespoons of a good clean protein powder stirred in thoroughly. This is the move that changed everything, and it is also the place where most people leave the most value sitting on the table. Why the protein powder changes everything. Before I added the protein powder, this bowl was decent. It tasted good. It had roughly 12 grams of protein. It was satisfying for maybe an hour, but by the time I was actually ready to fall asleep, I would start to feel hungry again. And that residual hunger sometimes sent me back to the kitchen, which largely defeated the purpose. When I started stirring in 1 to 2 tablespoons of a clean protein powder, the entire experience shifted in a way I was not expecting. The texture became noticeably thicker, almost like a frozen yogurt consistency. The flavor became richer and more complex, and the total protein content jumped from 12 grams to close to 25 grams, sometimes more depending on the scoop size. That protein increase meant the satiety lasted significantly longer. I was going to bed genuinely full and satisfied, and I was waking up the next morning without that desperate, ravenous hunger that had previously been driving all my worst food decisions by midday. When choosing a protein powder, there are a few things worth paying attention to. First, the ingredient list should be short and recognizable. If it is animal-based, grass-fed is worth prioritizing. The product should mix smoothly into the yogurt without clumping or developing a chalky texture. And critically, it should actually taste good, like something you would genuinely want to eat as a dessert. This last point matters more than most people realize because the sustainability of any habit depends almost entirely on whether you actually enjoy it. I had always thought of protein powder as something you use after a workout, a utilitarian gym supplement. Using it as a flavor and texture upgrade for a nightly dessert bowl felt almost rebellious at first. But it works remarkably well, and the biology behind why it works is worth understanding. What is actually happening in your body? Let me walk you through the science of why this particular combination of ingredients is so effective, because when you understand the mechanism, you stop second guessing yourself on the nights when you almost skip it. The protein effect. When you consume a sufficient amount of protein in a single sitting, your body triggers the release of specific satiety hormones. These include GLP-1, cholecystokinin, and peptide YY. If any of those sound familiar, GLP-1 is the same hormone targeted by medications like Ozempic. These chemical signals travel to your brain and essentially communicate, "We have what we need, you can stop searching for food, the threat of caloric deficit has passed." Research conducted at the University of Missouri examined the impact of high protein meals containing approximately 35 grams of protein, on evening snacking behaviors. The findings were striking. Participants consuming higher protein meals experienced significantly reduced evening cravings for high fat, high sugar foods compared to those eating lower protein meals or skipping the meal altogether. That is not a marginal effect. That is the difference between a night where you stay in control and a 9 p.m. pantry raid. The probiotic yogurt effect. Let me be straightforward here. Probiotics do not directly burn fat. If anyone in the supplement industry has told you otherwise, they are oversimplifying or misleading you. What probiotics genuinely do is support a healthier gut microbiome environment, which in turn positively influences inflammation levels, hunger signaling pathways, and overall digestive efficiency. A healthier gut communicates more clearly with your brain, which means better appetite regulation over time. The thick, full fat nature of a quality probiotic yogurt also provides slow digesting healthy fats that contribute genuine satiety, the kind of deep, lasting fullness that a watery, low fat yogurt simply cannot replicate. That physical creaminess and richness also matters on a sensory level because part of what makes us feel satisfied after eating is the experience of eating, not just the caloric content. The blueberry effect research out of Louisiana State University investigated the impact of the bioactive compounds in blueberries, specifically the polyphenols that produce their characteristic deep blue-purple pigmentation, on insulin sensitivity. The findings were meaningful. These compounds were associated with improved insulin sensitivity in people who were already insulin resistant. This matters enormously in the context of evening cravings because improved insulin sensitivity translates directly to more stable blood sugar levels. And more stable blood sugar levels mean fewer of those sharp glycemic crashes that send you desperately searching for fast, calorie-dense fuel 2 hours after dinner. The fiber content in blueberries further contributes to this stabilizing effect by slowing the rate of digestion and moderating the pace at which sugars enter your bloodstream. As a side note, some research suggests that up to 93% of Americans may be experiencing some degree of insulin resistance. If that figure is accurate, the blueberry component of this bowl is doing quietly significant work for the vast majority of people who try it. The hemp seed effect. Hemp seeds bring a combination of omega-3 fatty acids, magnesium, protein, and fiber to the bowl. Each of these plays a supporting role in blood sugar stability, inflammation management, and satiety signaling. They are small, but they are meaningful. The cinnamon effect. A meta-analysis published in the Annals of Family Medicine, which reviewed findings across multiple independent studies, found that cinnamon was associated with modest reductions in fasting blood glucose levels. The word modest is important. Cinnamon is not a miracle spice, but modest improvements that stack consistently over time add up. Every small win on the blood sugar stability front contributes to the larger picture of reduced cravings and improved appetite regulation. The entire bowl is essentially designed to accomplish one overarching biological goal through multiple simultaneous mechanisms: stabilize your blood sugar, slow the pace of digestion, and extend your sense of satiety long enough that your brain never reaches the point of screaming for an emergency sugar infusion. That is the whole strategy. Everything in the bowl is in service of that single objective. The real root cause of nighttime cravings. This is the part I want you to sit with because it took me the longest to genuinely internalize. And it is the insight that made sustainable change finally feel possible. For most of my adult life, I approached nighttime cravings as a nighttime problem. They showed up at night, they hit hardest at night, so logically, that was where I tried to solve them with willpower, with distraction strategies, with going to bed early to avoid the kitchen, with telling myself firmly that it was simply too late to be eating anything. None of it worked consistently because I was treating the symptom while the cause continued unchecked. What research and eventually my own experience confirmed is that nighttime cravings are almost universally manufactured earlier in the day. They are the end product of a full day's worth of cumulative blood sugar instability, inadequate protein consumption, and small nutritional decisions that have been quietly draining your appetite regulation system since breakfast. Here is what a typical day in that pattern looks like. You wake up and either skip breakfast entirely or rush through something carbohydrate heavy. You grab another carb forward snack mid morning when energy dips. You eat a moderate lunch that holds you for a couple of hours. You hit the classic 3 p.m. energy crash and push through it with caffeine, coffee, energy drinks, whatever is available. You eat a normal dinner, and then by 8 p.m., your blood sugar has been on a roller coaster all day. Your cortisol levels are creeping upward because your body has been under low-grade stress, and your brain, which is now running low on stable fuel, begins issuing increasingly urgent demands for the most calorie-dense, fast-acting energy sources it can identify. That means sugar. That means fat. That means the most processed, hyperpalatable things in your kitchen. And here is the crucial reframe. That is not weakness. That is your body trying to protect you. It is executing a survival strategy perfectly suited to a caloric environment it was simply never designed to navigate. The reason this dessert bowl works so powerfully for me, and for many people I have worked with, is not that it contains some exotic ingredient or secret formula. It is that having a high-protein, fiber-rich, blood sugar stabilizing meal at the end of the day, right after dinner, breaks the cycle at its most vulnerable point. I went into the rest of the evening already satisfied, already metabolically stable, already done with food in a way that felt genuine rather than forced. And then something unexpected started happening. The cravings during the day began to quiet down as well. That constant low-level background noise around food, that persistent hum of wondering what to eat next, checking the time to see if it was reasonable to have a snack, mentally inventorying the refrigerator, that noise got noticeably softer. Not completely gone, but genuinely reduced. The volume came way down. That shift alone made consistency feel achievable for the first time in years. When cravings are no longer consuming mental bandwidth, staying on track stops feeling like a constant battle and starts feeling almost automatic. What sustainable fat loss actually looks like. I was not counting calories during this period. I was not following a complicated fasting protocol. I was not punishing myself with excessive exercise. What I was doing was eating real, whole food during the day, meals with adequate protein, fiber, and healthy fat, and finishing the day with this bowl. And the math just quietly worked itself out in the background. I want to be transparent with you about expectations here because I am not your guru and I am not going to make promises about your specific results. Your body is different from mine. Your starting point is different. Your stress levels, your sleep quality, your activity level, your hormonal profile, all of these factors influence outcomes. What I can tell you with confidence is that the mechanism is real and well supported. Stable blood sugar combined with high satiety signals combined with a nightly ritual you actually enjoy will change your relationship with food over time. And when your relationship with food changes, fat loss stops being a project you are working on and becomes a quiet side effect of simply feeling well. Here is the reframe that shifted everything for me. You do not have a weight problem. You have a weight symptom. You do not lose weight to become healthy. You become healthy, and weight loss follows naturally. This bowl is one small, practical, enjoyable step in that direction. A warning about fake health foods. Before I close, I want to flag something I see constantly because the health food industry is very good at disguising junk as nourishment. Most of the healthy desserts you encounter on social media are engineered specifically to keep you coming back for more. Sugary, low-fat yogurts topped with granola are essentially sugar delivery vehicles dressed up in wellness packaging. Most commercial protein bars contain more sugar alcohols, artificial sweeteners, and industrial gums than actual nutritious food. Those fruit at the bottom yogurt cups contain more sugar than many actual desserts. These products are designed to be consumed, not to nourish. A landmark study published in Cell Metabolism, one of the most rigorous dietary research trials conducted in the past decade, run by the National Institutes of Health, found that people consuming ultra-processed foods ate approximately 500 more calories per day than those consuming minimally processed foods, even when the meals were otherwise matched for macronutrient content and palatability. That is 500 additional calories per day driven entirely by the degree of processing before a single choice about portion size or food selection has even been made. Think about what that adds up to over weeks and months. The bowl I have described here is not trendy. It is not visually dramatic. It is just real food in ratios that your body knows exactly what to do with. That is the whole point. Your next step. Try it for 7 consecutive nights. Do not overthink it. Just make the bowl after dinner each evening and pay careful attention to what happens around 9 p.m. That is where you will notice the biggest change, the absence of that familiar desperate pull toward the kitchen, the feeling of being genuinely, comfortably, sustainably satisfied. If you know someone who has been stuck in the late night eating loop, someone who beats themselves up every morning for losing control every evening, share this with them. It might be the thing that finally reframes the problem correctly for them, because the problem was never discipline. It was never willpower. It was biology. And biology, when you give it the right inputs, responds.